Welcome to the Dice Box and Dunwall by night. Our gang of three here is on their way to a fancy ass party, dressed in fancy ass clothing, to rescue a daughter, steal a necklace, and shank a motherfucker. Basically, that's about as simple as we can make it. Unfortunately, because of how things worked out, uh, Jerrica is kind of in a position where she cannot get any kind of last minute tutelage on her way in the carriage because it's two separate carriages. Uh, you've got Viola in her alias, leading Delphine in her Karnakian nobility alias, in one because Viola's alias is kind of showing the foreign around, but Jerrica's on her own. That's gonna be fun. Now, just to start, we roll the hand of fate. Yeah, that's about enough. Someone would have flagged up that one good thing about Jerrica wearing black is that she can pass for, you know, basically rich widow. That could be useful in getting her close to individuals that she may or may not require to shank. In any case, Noms, odds or evens?
Evens.
Jerrica turns up first. Oh dear, that was a 14. Yeah, okay. So yeah, Jerrica's carriage pulls up in front of. I mean, she's never been in one of these places. It's the kind of thing that, if it was a lot more dilapidated, would house like half a dozen to a dozen families. That's how we do it now, actually. Most of the big Victorian fancy houses have been chopped up into successively smaller and smaller flats. So you won't find as many apartment blocks the way I have them in England. You'll have converted Victorians and big old buildings that have been renovated to squeeze in more people, and I figure that started around about this sort of time. So, you probably find some places that have been abandoned. Somebody lost to war, plague, whatever, and when selling off the estate, they converted the houses that are close enough to the grotty zone to not get too looked up your nose at it into like small apartments, studio flats, little one room bits, kind of like the one you're currently at. That may change depending on Lady Hepzibah's negotiations and your own successes tonight. But yes, it's large, well lit, could probably fill it could probably fit most of your village in it, and is apparently only lived in by one family. Although it does have an awful lot of other people sort of milling in, because, it's party time.
Jerrica takes a deep, deep breath in. It's on a poker face. You know, looks to try and see if there's a queue of people
I mean,
presenting to
there,
their
there,
invitations.
there are more sort of. It's not so much a queue, thankfully, because things seem to be going relatively quickly. It doesn't seem to be quite the kind of place where names are announced, but that might be because there aren't an awful lot of new faces in the crowd. You won't know until you turn up with your invitation. Because nobody thought to ask that one.
Yeah, she's just looking for the other people to follow in terms of
Yeah, I mean,
how one approaches.
front door is open. There is a footman type of individual who's apparently servant, but as far as you're concerned, dressed like nobility, because it's the whole swanky suit and hat and all the rest of it. Because he is technically outdoors, taking invitations and the like, and he's looking at invitations, giving a nod, gesturing people inside. There is, because Jerrica's passive perception is not bad, a young woman at the door collecting the silver pieces because this is their silver gala charity ball thing. But you were presented with enough to cover that
Okay.
because that and the card tables you were gonna need some silver to throw around just by the nature of the party.
Yeah, well, then she puts her chin up and saunters onwards to present her invitation and the silvers.
The invitation part comes first. Glances at it. Glances at you.
Jerrica stares back.
getting a You're getting this look from the butler, which is, goodness me, you're a little bit antagonistic, and does in fact announce you. Now I'm trying to remember which alias I gave you, and I don't remember off the top of my head.
Anastasia Payne.
Ah, yes, of course I gave you something ironic. And so then
Edge.
you get the butler clearing his throat, leaning just a little bit further inside, and in rather ringing tones to carry into the little vestibule and beyond, the Lady Anastasia Payne, and then gestures you inside.
She saunters inside,
The
looks
the the
about.
the the the, 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 the woman in the vestibule with the basket does kind of nervously nudge the collecting basket in your general direction because clearly you're like frumpy and she doesn't really want to get yelled at or slapped today, but she does have to collect the silver because that's a thing. So it's just kind of some nudging into your line of sight as you're stepping through the vestibule. Just yeep.
She drops down a few silvers without really looking to the poor maid.
that gets a bit of a blink, and the young woman and the butler man actually exchange looks. They're just like, uh, yeah, they're looking at you with. I mean, they're more. If anything, they're more intimidated right now. Um, I don't know if you want to roll an insight check to see why they're doing that.
She's not really. She's faking her disinterest, but she's also not really that interested in the servants.
No, that's fair, but at the same time, it's like you do kind of. She does kind of need to know how she's being received because
Okay.
if she, if she has to be looking to see if they've made her.
Okay, that's fair. She's doing pretty good.
Given the commanding stare and the thoughtless casting of like 3 times more than the requested donation, they think you're wealthy and powerful as fuck.
You're scared to shitless. Nice.
Yeah, that's probably gonna circulate, gossip wise. And so yeah, once you've dumped your silver and got your, well, I seem to have scared people. I think that's good. um,
Mhm.
enter. I mean, this ballroom is. You could fit like 3 houses in this place, from your upbringing, and this is just one ballroom. Thankfully, because you've seen the setup at Lady Hepzibah's, you've got some indication of what's going on. I mean, you've got the buffet table, and there are some people dancing, but not as many. Partially because some of the ballroom floor space is taken up with card tables, and there's gentlemen in livery wandering around with the glasses of champagne, and there's a stage set up at the very far end of the room, but nobody's on it quite yet. There's a sort of a four-person chamber orchestra kind of thing off to one side, but main stage is at present unoccupied. As far as you can see, Viola and Delphine have not arrived yet, and you would not be able to miss Delphine. She is, at this particular point, nearly impossible to miss.
Jerrica snags a glass of champagne and swigs it a little bit more than she should, and then looks for the Lord de Montfort.
Okay, yep. I didn't even have to ask. Takes a minute. As you're uncouthly swigging champagne, which is getting you some looks, but at the same time, there seems to be a, well, maybe she thinks that much money and power can replace social graces, but it can't really. But eventually she finds the mark she's looking for at one of the card tables, with three other gentlemen, and losing his shirt.
He's lost his shirt.
Not literally.
Okay.
It's a figure of speech that means he's doing incredibly badly. Isn't that not a common card?
No,
What? Huh?
not even one iota.
It is here.
Yeah, I've heard it many times.
And I get it, I just
I've
had
never
to make
heard it.
sure it wasn't literal.
Not a once until now.
Yeah, sorry, Nums. Whatever Jerrica might think, this is not the setting for strip poker.
I figured
Yes,
that, but
and
you
no.
never
I've-
know.
I guess maybe it's because I've been through Vegas a few times. I don't know.
I think
I've never been.
I think that's the main thing. I've never been to Vegas, but I've played. Yeah, I've gambled some, not not in actual casinos, but I've played cards with people who have. So I know some of the phrasing. Plus, I read like constantly.
Does Jerrica have an idea of like the night's schedule, or like how the expectation of how events will proceed and how long?
Not particularly. She kind of, from what I recall, she kind of zoned out around about, I'm going to get my daughter, and yeah, okay, fine, I'll shank a motherfucker if I have to, but that's what I'm here for.
That's fair.
And she didn't seem to care over much. Nobody had any other questions, so.
That's
yeah.
fair.
As far as she does know that there's gonna be a fair bit of, what was mentioned was that there's going to be a fair bit of gambling earlier on in the evening, and the ones who are less likely to be funding and otherwise supporting cultist interests will be leaving relatively early. So anything that's going to be particularly skeevy and wrong and eldritch horror-ish is probably going to be later on in the evening. And that's probably also the best time to, if anything goes completely pear-shaped, to do things without A, collateral damage of the kind you don't necessarily want, and B, collateral damage of the kind that involves panicking people, running, screaming, and calling guards.
Roughly what time is it now, and how many hours is it until, politely leaving?
Right now it's about 8 o'clock. Politely leaving, you have no idea.
Fair
You've
enough.
never been to a polite party in your life. In your case, it's off. It's after last orders at whatever pub you've managed to find yourself in, and sometimes not even then if you've managed to talk the owner into doing a lock-in.
Okay.
It's a very British custom. Very quick
Yeah, it took a
explanation.
second to register, but I got it.
Yeah, basically it just means they chuck it. It's kind of like this actually. They chuck out the fly-by-nighters, leave in all the regulars, lock the doors, leave the bar open, like all night.
Okay, then she will casually saunter about, and actually also look for kind of armed-looking guards, or the kind of guards who would like have something under their nice coat.
Okay, given that perception check, you will notice a few things. One, that gentleman that you passed, that you grabbed your champagne from. I mean, his shirt is cut very, very well, but if you know what you're looking for, it still doesn't quite hide a flintlock and a knife. There don't seem to be anybody armed except at a couple of doors to either side and flanking the doorway into the vestibule, and they look more ornamental. That doesn't necessarily mean they are ornamental, but they look more ornamental. The thing is that if that waiter is any indication, a fair few of the staff circulating are also armed. And given the Gallenfort's leanings, it's entirely possible that you'd figure out pretty easily why. So, sauntering, examining the potential competition, and watching Lord de Montfort lose his shirt. Not literally.
And
Consider.
she'll grab the fancy little plate of finger food and see if there's an.
The whole plate.
No, I mean like the personal plate.
You grab a plate, you serve yourself. Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
usually people don't. At these things, it's weird. Unless you're going to be at one of the card tables, at which point you summon a servant, and I mean, you're going to do this anyway because this is Jerrica and no one's taught her shit. But you'll notice that when you're picking up your plate and putting things on it, that you're getting looks from people who are converging in little knots of conversation around the buffet table that aren't actually using a plate. They're just picking up nibbles that they fancy at that moment, and then looking at the tables, you'll see that they're the only ones that have plates, and that's because a waiter's bringing them over to them. So you do realize that you've made a distinct faux pas, but what are you going to do about it now?
Yeah. Pointedly does not meet any of those looks, and then looks to see if there's an open seat at de Montfort's table.
Funnily enough, there is a gentleman that's because this is an all gentleman's table. This not bad looking individual is just sort of smiling at this guy and going, "I'm sorry, old man, but as much as I enjoy watching that look on your face, I can't, in all good conscience, take any more of your money." Pat, and walks off from the table. The other two are looking a bit like, we should probably have the good manners to do that, but we're not quite done fleecing him yet. And de Montfort is somewhere between, if I get up now, I will be humiliated, and I want to win some of my money back.
Jerrica waits a few moments and steps up to the table, smiles politely as much as she can, and kind of look lingers on de Montfort.
Ooh.
Ah,
Is the seat open, gentlemen?
uh, so it would appear, but I'm sorry, Milady Payne. Do you know the game at all?
Does she know the game?
Does she? She does technically. I mean, they are playing a very rule-abiding form of poker, but does she want to admit to it?
Of course I do.
Okay. Um, and are they going to? Montfort is apparently a complete dipshit. This is great. The other two gentlemen are having that look like whenever somebody that you normally underestimate says something quite that blithely in a way that isn't to be believed. Somebody is going to be taken for everything they own, and it's probably going to be us, but he's gonna get it first, so fuck it, I don't care. And de Montfort is giving her this condescending smile and be like, I'm sure if there's any holes in your understanding, we'll be able to.
That is
Oh,
too
this is
kind of you, sir.
Take a seat.
oh wow.
Take a seat, milady. Okay.
This
Okay,
man will die.
here's my first question. Are you going to be playing fair or are you gonna cheat?
She's going to play fair and try not to win too much.
Okay, let me have a quick look at your character sheet and make a quick call on.
This is great. I love you.
Given the nature of the game, I'm gonna be unbelievably kind to you and ask for a deception check.
Oh my god.
What?
The dumb thing is that even with the nat one, all three of them rolled lower than you.
They all got nat ones and got negatives?
No, it's just that it was like totals 3, 4, 3.
They're bad at this.
The impression, we're going to be kind, the impression from the first hand is that she's not used to quite this many rules, but they're letting her break about even. Just because that modifier, I'm sorry, that fucking modifier, roll again. This time, it's pretty clear that you're doing somewhat better. You do get beaten out by, surprisingly, this rather portly Father Christmas-ish looking gent who's just he's really difficult to read. Part of it's the beard, and part of it is he's just so fucking jolly. He did roll in at 20 and ran the table. You almost expect a ho ho ho. But Jerrica acquits herself reasonably well, and de Montfort winds up writing a couple of fairly significant IOUs. At this point, because I think we've stalled this long enough, Francine and, well, Delphine and Viola turn up. In come, the carriage pulls up. They large, well-lit manor that you guys have a bit more experience of from, okay, fine, from either below stairs or, like, sewer level, but still. But now you're stepping up the walk towards the liveried butler man. Did did Viola want to give Delphine any bits of advice?
I mean, out of character, I don't know what I would say, but yeah, no. In terms of uh, how to,
Some of the things what Jerrica did, don't do that.
yeah, basically, and also a little bit of like
Uh,
when we get in there, we'll play a little bit up, like just pointing to the various decor, just like, oh, yeah, there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that, because you're supposed to be all foreign and everything else. We'll kind of get our story straight on the ride over a little bit, just
I
how
have
we're
a few
gonna.
ideas because Karnakans.
Yes, but you're gonna have to share them with Viola unless you want
Yeah,
a
that's what
surprise
I'm.
thrown at them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm just
Oh, okay, that's
going to
okay.
do that after. That's just saying I have a few ideas. I am given to understand that Karnakans have lately been spending almost more than the usual earnings in the Empire. So,
Sorry, I don't
because
even
this,
know
this
what that
Yeah,
sounds
out of
like.
It
character,
would have been
I'm
because this
confused
is
as
right
fuck.
about when Luca Abel took over, so he just started partying harder and harder and harder. So they're
Yeah,
starting to party.
yeah. The thing is that you weren't saying where the money was going. You just said spending more, but you didn't say on what.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I'm sorry, I'm working to get the words out correctly. Please be
Ah,
patient with me.
Yes.
okay.
No, we're trying. It's just one of those. It's one of those situations where it's like we. And to
Like,
be fair, it's as much in character as anything else because Delphine is not great at words, and Viola would go. Sorry, what?
yeah, I'm just
Okay,
trying to
fair.
figure out where my divide is right now. So
Yeah, you're good.
In this case, it covers both.
specifically,
Yeah.
okay, specifically, there's a new Duke. He's partying aggressively. So this would go into the category of interesting but seen it. I think. Would that be right?
The party itself, probably,
That
but
that or getting ideas,
hmm, yeah,
inspiration. If you're only starting to party aggressively, you're gonna want as many types of this for Viola,
and right.
so you know
If,
how the nobles
if you,
go.
yeah, well, if you're only just ramping up, I believe is the turn of phrase, uh, then you're going to want a variety of gathering types and events and fare and things of that nature. So not just the decor, not just this is the way, this is the style of this and that and the other, but also just this is this particular type of party, this is what is done. So we can do a little of that as well. This gives us an excuse to sort of wander the grounds, as it were, and hopefully get eyes on this piece that we're supposed to find.
And also an
Uh,
excuse to have you not know shit.
yeah, Delphine or me.
Oh, Delphine predominantly,
uh,
because you I can get away with prompting, but
right.
Delphine.
Yeah, just out of character. I don't know. So simple as that.
Well, you've got a feel from what I've described with
I bet.
Jerrica, so
Um,
it's
um,
actually probably just as well Jerrica went first because, well, Jerrica doesn't know either. Jerrica doesn't give a shit.
um, there may going in. There may be guards. There may be security of some sort. Bearing in mind also, there's at least a couple of people who are on our side, though that may or may not come into play. And I'm hoping it doesn't actually, because that will mean everything went smoothly.
In very 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 quickly, because Delphine I think is the only one who would really know this. It is not common practice for wait staff to go armed.
Oh,
Oh well.
wait.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying you don't know they are yet. But just to say, because Jerrica didn't know whether it was common practice, you're the only one who would know it isn't. So I'm letting you know that.
Okay, but that's not going to come into play until we get there and
Yeah,
make rolls, or okay.
yeah. I'm just flagging it up now before I forget.
Okay. So yeah. And pulling out, looking at the invite again. Just okay. Cecilia Caldwell. Okay.
The,
Double checking.
I remember the last name of the one I was given, Hunter, but I'm blanking on the first.
Lupita.
Repeat it. Thank you.
Yes, just think Mars and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Or Nikia, which is actually where my brain went first. But hey,
I've been spending too much time with noms, clearly.
or
I
not
went
enough. Either
straight
way.
to Star Wars.
Either way. Anyway. Cool. All right. So Delphine, I don't think there's anything further.
Well, if there is, then it's going to have to be quietly said at some point because you're pulling
Right.
up.
Okay. Oh, and we're here. Just hand the invite to. Just as we pull up, I'm pointing the guy out. Just we'll go up, hand the invites to him, go further in, and we'll be depositing some silver or a silver. Generally, it's a in the box. It's a little further on. That's how these things work. Right. Shall we?
All right. Here you go. Go
How,
parties.
Yep.
yeah.
I will step. I'll step out first, and then step a little, like half to the side, to let Delphine step out. And
Yeah, there's a certain amount of you know, murmuring behind fans in a couple of spots as Delphine turns up in her red and her parrot and
Viola's just gracious grin, just like being the escort, as it were.
yeah, you are as Jerrica is just around towards the end of that second hand where Mr. Jollyman is bluffing the shit out of all of y'all. You do hear Lady Lupita Hunter, Lady Cecilia Caldwell.
Jerrica looks up and then tries to look like she was only glancing casually.
I'll give you
And
that one. You're in the middle of a hand.
so, and we walk in, and as we walk in, I kind of glance over at, I glance a little bit at Delphine and sort of do like a sweep, like, take a look. We are here. You are seeing this. This is a thing. At the same time, giving me an excuse to kind of sweep the room myself and get a
Perception
look
check.
because I'm trying to figure out, okay, we're here. Now, where's the thing we got to find? Perception is there. 15.
Well, it's certainly not on the neck of anyone in this room. You do note the guards at the various doors. They look pretty ornamental. You notice wait staff wandering around with glasses of champagne. With that roll, you do not notice that they are armed. You see the buffet. You see the little orchestra. You see the stage, which is clearly being set up for some form of entertainment later on. And you do eventually see Jerrica with it at a card table with the individual that she probably, just because she's into art as much as anything else, recognizes as the sketch of Lord de Montfort, a jolly bearded fat man who appears to be winning, and a guy who could not look more average if he tried. Brown hair, probably brown eyes, just just the right amount of fancy for this party. He is Mr. Bland, or probably Lord Bland, given where he is. But and given that Jerrica is getting some looks, She's probably committed a few faux pas, and one of them you're actually watching now, because a woman does not normally sit at a gentleman's card table.
Trying to making note of Jerrica and just leaning into Delphine a little. Doesn't even
That's
really
not
say
normal.
anything, just sort of leans over and just goes, just big
That's not
sigh.
entirely normal at this level of society.
No, but knowing Jerrica, I'm sure she's playing it well. Judging from the looks that she's getting, it's not as bad as it could be. And at
Well,
least she's close to the person, so hey.
at that point, it really is Lord de Montfort putting down his hand with no small amount of violence and writing various IOUs for people.
Oh my.
Hmm.
Oh, he's writing a lot of those. Or at the very least, well, I don't know if he's writing a lot of individual ones or writing some very large ones individually, or a small amount of them. But either way, wow. Whew. And it looks like Jared is doing okay for herself, which is I'm impressed. Awesome. Okay. Wonderful. Right.
To be fair, you do know that the portly, jolly-looking gentleman is a general. I don't quite remember his name off the top of your head, and he is notorious for just being incredibly good at this game.
I'm
And
surprised.
given that Jerrica acquitted herself reasonably well in that one.
Oh, Viola's making note. It's like, note to self, do not play Jerrica.
Can I take the
Very
opportunity presented by Viola's sweeping sort of gesture to look around to, well, look around?
Perception check.
Nine.
Buffet.
And the glance just sort of stops the buffet table.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Come, and we wander over to the buffet. It's like, I'm sure some of these you have not, you might have seen, but you may not have had the chance to have. So we will partake of a few things here.
Yeah,
No, you don't need. No, you don't need to take a plate. Just take the one you want.
And yeah,
Too many at once.
I'm basically gonna make like I'm trying nibbles, and also periodically, if there is something remotely nut based, taking a portion and just amusedly slash boredly handing it to my parrot.
munch, 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 munch. And how good is Fluffy? Fluffy starts actually singing a moderately popular in Karnaka sort of tune.
That little troll.
In parrot kind of tones. So it's kind of like the equivalent of the Budgie humming the Chocobo theme tune, but it's Izzy's trying.
And Viola just kind of
Something about summer beaches.
Pretty much.
cute.
Oh, Christ!
Cute.
Now I have "Tell Me More" from Grease getting stuck in my head now.
Oh god damn it!
It's better than my brain. I went to Beach Boys. Anyway.
Okay.
And now mine's stuck there too. Fucking
Oh,
hell,
sorry,
mate.
Smeagol.
Could be worse. Mine's filking it. Because I'm me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
so, yeah, Jerrica's being handed an IOU, and Lord de Montfort is getting up and grabbing a glass of champagne and going somewhere to calm down.
Jerrica keeps watch what room he's going towards.
Oh, he's not going to a room. He's just standing off to one side a little bit. Apparently because of one of the people at that table, he's seems fairly secure that he's not going to get funny looks. To be fair, half the looks are directed at you, and you don't know why. And half the looks are directed at the jolly winner man, and you don't know why. But you do have two very flashy, fancy ladies over by the nibbles.
Jericho, keep playing, draw at least one more hand.
Okay, give me another deception check. That I'm going to assume there is somebody who filled in at the table. And that one, Jerrica does in fact win rather handily. These ones don't have to roll IOUs because they haven't been losing for the last half hour. So Jerrica walks away with 7 gold and silvers.
Nice.
Woo.
While you guys are nibbling on the buffet and waiting for... I mean, Delphine knows this for what it is. This is Jerrica. She's seen you, but she's not going to immediately get up and go to you. She may not be a noble party person, but she does at least know something about being subtle. Sometimes. Occasionally.
And I will. I'm going to go ahead and grab a glass of champagne to have in hand.
Champagne?
He said champagne. It just got.
You just
Oh,
garbled.
got mangled. Whoops.
That's okay. I was just
I
wondering.
was confused. I was like, no, I said champagne. I thought. Blah.
I
Anyway,
just thought you were being cute. Anyway.
no, not intentionally. So yeah, I'll grab a glass of champagne to have in hand, sipping ever so slightly. Doing
Yeah,
the
one of the things you will have noticed is that there is like a quarter full glass of champagne, and she wouldn't have arrived too much before you guys, so.
yeah. I made Jerrica's drinking like Jerrica. I made note. But I also know Jerrica's background, and
And
I trust.
she has clearly been tamping it down with food, but because she was
Yeah.
at a card table when you arrived, you don't know about her the buffet table.
I just figured Delphine would just grab a plate to do the same thing because it's Delphine. So I was like, you don't have to grab a plate; just take
Yeah.
the piece you want.
Yeah,
Anyway,
because to be fair, when you're new at a party like this,
it does make
usually-
sense.
Yeah, it's because it's usually a good vantage point to check out the room, see what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
And it's a place where people will come and go, so if you want to introduce people.
Yep. Speaking of, do I recognize anybody myself by at least sight? Would this be anyone in the crowd I might possibly recognize? So I could be like, oh, this is Da, da, da.
There's a few that you do recognize, and one of them is Lady Anna, the one who hired the assassins to come after you.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'll definitely be looking away when I realize I'm like, oh dear, and I turn back to the buffet.
And it's one of those moments when you're very, very glad for the very, very good job
Good man.
Sophie
Yes,
did on you.
exactly.
I insight check this behavior.
Oh no, I was going to lean. Well, I mean, go ahead.
Just to see if she's prepped for it in advance.
Yeah.
No.
Oh
She's found these little miniature quiches.
Oh no.
God damn it!
There's little bits of bacon and little bits of that rich creamy cheese in it, and bits of green thing that you probably in character don't know is broccoli, but it's like, these are a revelation. That's all you've got at the moment. Well, poor Delphine is having a minor panic attack.
Well, Viola is, yes. So I
yes.
I turn and lean into to Delphine a little, and if you can pull yourself out of your 1,000-yard stare, the woman, and I give general description of where she is in relation to us and
Well,
her outfit?
yeah, in this kind of setting, it's usually describe the outfit, and she is wearing actually, you know this dress. Um, you did paint her in this dress, but you apparently didn't do her justice because it's dark blue velvet, and unfortunately, it does add around the waist and hips. You know.
Oh yeah, it was
Who's
poor.
gonna telepathically tell Fluffy, look in her direction, please.
Uh, Still humming. And this now he actually is humming a song nobody knows, but it really is the Chocobo theme. So
And
as Tilt's head and looks at this woman and getting telepathically,
I'm
she's like a fluffy plum.
I'm it's the woman
There's
who
this
looked
look of, okay.
the woman looking like a deformed berry is the one who is Lady Anna, who is the one who hired the assassins to kill me.
Hmm.
Just FYI.
And
Right. I'm going to.
telepathically from Fluffy, do you want me to relieve myself on her head?
Would take a moment, maybe during a flyover or
Ah,
show.
and yeah, by this time your hand is ended. So by this point the table is starting to break up in earnest. So you do get a handshake from the general saying, "Give me a perception check, Jerrica." It's enough because as the table is breaking up, he's not really trying to hide it. There is a faint thread of Morley in that accent. At least once he's had a few. It's just, thank you very much, young lady. Proprieties aside, I haven't had a game that good in quite some time.
Nor have I, sir. It's quite good indeed.
If I may, from your voice, how did a Morley lady find herself in such esteemed, and you can hear the scare quotes, company?
Decided to relocate to Dunwall after my husband's passing. Our families were always loyal to the crown, of course, but it's good to be in the city.
Give me a deception check.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah, gives you a bit of a look, and says, "Well, it's lovely to meet another countrywoman. Perhaps you'll do me the honor of a dance later."
I just might. Thank you.
He nods and heads off to where a bunch of gentlemen are stinking up their own personal corner with some, I mean, really fancy, probably Karnakin, but again, because of that, incredibly stinky cigars over in a corner.
There's always
And
one corner with cigars.
Oh, yeah.
Jerrica is
Oh.
going to survey the room again and also look for people she recognizes in terms of the off chance of officers and the like from the her whaling ship. So
Okay,
would that need another roll?
that would need another perception check, yes. No, mostly you're seeing mostly you're considering that because that was a little weird. And you're also noticing that you've left. I mean, Viola's probably okay in this kind of situation, but you've left Delphine, and she seems to have inhaled like half a tray of little tiny egg pies, as far as you can tell.
Jerrica eyes Delphine for a moment and then turns away to look for de Montfort.
He's still sort of after one more hand, he's probably decompressed a little bit. And how lucky are you? You're not. He's currently on the dance floor with the chunky-looking woman in the ill-suiting blue velvet gown.
And then,
And given you're looking around and you are keeping an eye, you do see that you catch Delphine giving one of the two of them funny looks, and given that de Montfort's your target, it probably isn't him that's making her look kind of wild-eyed.
Was that Viola or me? The wild eyed.
Viola, sorry. Yeah, no. Yeah. Delphine is still kind of inhaling bits of food while Fluffy is doing her looking for her. So
I have a camera.
To be fair, while she's looking through Fluffy's eyes, you do see without thinking of the consequences and who might be looking, having her eyes fog over as she's looking through Fluffy's eyes. And if she doesn't,
I didn't. That's not what I meant by I have a camera, but.
Well, no, every time you're looking through Fluffy,
I wasn't looking through Fluffy. I was asking Fluffy to look for me and then tell me rather than.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't doing the looking.
Yeah, okay. So, okay. Just, that's... I mean,
yeah, that was me being poorly understood. Sorry about that.
That's the thing. Fluffy can tell you that person exists, but that's no more than Delphine had already told you. That's why I assumed. Because Delphine was already explaining to Viola was already explaining to Delphine where this woman was and what she was wearing, so the only reason I could think of to have Fluffy look at her was for Delphine to look at her through Fluffy rather than looking herself. I thought you were being clever! I gave you too much credit.
No, I was, but I didn't want to risk the actual, activation thing.
Well, I can lean,
because I was figuring use Fluffy sort of to track location, rather vague location and distance without having to actually look. Like, it's going to be rougher than me directly looking, but having Fluffy just sort of give me a 5 paces, this many paces, that sort of thing. Within stabbing distance, that sort of thing.
I don't think we'd have to worry about within stabbing distance. I'm just trying to determine how well familiar would really be able to do that without you looking through them. Because I've been really kind to you in terms of what a familiar can do. I mean, you've seen Caleb with Frumpkin. Frumpkin doesn't do half the shit I let you do. And
yeah, that's basically why I'm going.
Giving a position to that, to even that generality. I mean, Fluffy can tell you I see her.
Gotcha.
But
so
she's near, she's far, she's left, she's right, maybe. But that's only because, again, I'm being kind.
Perfect. Okay, then then as Jerrica's approaching, I'm going to just look.
Yeah. So if you're approaching the buffet table, you do see Delphine's eyes go fogged over. Of course, she probably didn't warn Viola, but Viola can see that happening and kind of step in front of her, possibly to gesture to Jerrica, like, she recognizes Lady Anastasia Payne.
Yeah. So not? I will step a little bit in front of of Lupita and sort of gracious little hand movement of acknowledgement to Anastasia.
Jerrica steps up. Cecilia goes for
lovely,
politely friendly.
Yes.
Half hug.
Yes.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, the air hug.
Yeah. Well, you've seen the greetings. You can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say you can both fake those.
Mwah, mwah, that whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She kind of lowers her voice.
Yeah.
I can take care of Demon for myself. Have you found the trinket that Hepzibah wants?
Not yet. We were trying to get a lay of things, and well, the woman that he's dancing with was the one that hired the assassins to kill me. That is Lady Anna, the one that looks like a deformed berry.
There you go.
Well, you can. You've got Viola going. You can politely laugh at something I was saying. You know.
Yeah,
You can.
she has a hard time a demure laugh.
That's fair.
She's trying to stifle a snort.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that Viola knows or understands that.
Yeah, you can laugh politely. It's fine. Anyway, but just so yeah. So anyway, that's why I'm a little.
Take Fluffy off and sort of make a show of demonstrating.
Do not.
Witness.
Do not.
And
The entire room is now watching this parrot do an overfly.
Do not.
Somewhere in that.
Do not. Oh.
Yep. Lady Anna winds up with her fancy ass blue velvet dress splattered with guano.
Jerrica politely steps elsewhere.
Lady Anna, that's the thing. Viola knows not only to hide her face, but also to cover her ears a bit because the shriek
Yep.
that comes out of that woman is enough to make the glasses vibrate a little bit.
Jesus!
Lupita, we are going to step away. Get your. I'm saying this in like in alias, because I'm going to be heard. And it's like, get your bird. We are stepping away. We are stepping to the side. I cannot believe you've done this. And we're going, and this is deliberate because I want to see if we can get out of the ballroom and into one of the side areas.
Well,
to get a look.
Lady Anna is currently storming towards you, but well, all three of you really.
Jerrica's already finding something of interest elsewhere and not about to be associated with these people.
I'm walking down the buffet table. I don't.
Well, it's one of those situations where, excuse me, you, did you bring this woman here? Because you did, technically.
Yes.
We met.
I don't believe so. Not officially.
Oh, you look.
Cecilia Caldwell. And I hold my hand out.
Anna Montpellier. And your friend and her bird have ruined my dress.
Dreadfully sorry. Looking at Lupita.
Looking like I'm more distracted by my parrot and trying to explain to the parrot not to do that sort of thing.
Okay. Oh no. The parrot. Fuck the regent!
Karnakans. Dreadfully.
That was a hand of fate.
Yeah.
I rolled a 2.
Yeah.
Opportunity knocked.
Dreadfully sorry. She's a pen friend. I am paying back the favor of lodging when I was visiting Karnaka some time back. The parrot was a bit of a surprise when she arrived. How can we make this up to you?
Honestly, there really isn't any particular way of making it up to me, as I can't be seen like this. And by the time I get home to change, this entire party will be over. You have ruined my entire night. And what's your... Oh my god. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter what your AC is. That was a natural 20.
20.
Just activated and shit.
Yeah, she got you with the rings, so that's like 5 points of bashing damage. Well, bludgeoning damage, because she backhands you, and the rings just... And
I'm
then...
doing nothing. I'm doing absolutely nothing in response. I'm just sort of having.
I've let Fluffy off to go like land on a light fixture or something, just because in the getting smacked like that, I would have dropped Fluffy otherwise.
And then just... and picks up her skirts to the regulation I am storming out way and exits the party.
I'm watching her leave with this look of, I want to follow you and put a knife in your spine.
Not yet.
And to be fair, there is a certain amount of a few of her friends have sort of huddled around her as she's on her way out the door, and when the explanations happen, there are some significant dirty looks thrown Lupita's way.
And now I'm sort of grabbing her and sort of dragging her off toward where Fluffy went, so we can get Fluffy and
Well,
go
Fluffy is up on a chandelier.
chandelier.
As we're passing, going to just hold up an arm and whistle and gesture.
Let's get you cleaned up.
She's not
Quote
listening.
unquote.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
And there are, like I say, there are guards, one on each side of every door in and out.
Mm-hmm. So this is the perfect excuse for us to step away and collect ourselves after the smacking and everything else.
So, which direction are you going? Because there's a set of glass double doors leading out to the patio. There's one heading to the sort of left, and one to the right. You don't know which is the way up to, personal quarters, and which is rooms laid out for the rest of the party. Like, I mean, think the Winter Palace bit in Inquisition. There are some rooms that are very specifically, you're allowed to be there for the party, but you go any further and you knew. If nothing else, if you vanish too long, people are going to start wondering.
Right. Can I? Sorry, Dune's acting weird. Anyway, uh, I will go toward the well, left. I'm guessing, and I'm gonna, as we're walking toward the guards, I'm going to look at the guards and sort of gauge by their reaction to us walking that direction as to whether or not, like, yay or nay. Like,
Insight check.
Okay. 10.
You're too upset at this point. You've had a couple too many shocks today. So you don't entirely notice what they're doing. Right
Okay.
up until they, when you're showing obvious intent to, when you're within, reaching distance, they move a little bit, so they're both blocking the...
Oh, hell. So I'll turn to the guard. We need a moment to collect ourselves. I'm assuming this way is personal quarters, the other way is other rooms available to the party. Right. We'll go that way then. Thank you. And turn, huff a little, and stomp, as politely as, as possible, as decorously as possible. Just fine.
And probably, taking Lupita by the arm, which is as much, I'm holding you here so you don't go anywhere and embarrass me anymore. as anything
This
else.
Exactly.
vague
Exactly.
bafflement from
Yes.
me.
Playing it up just a little.
So yeah, you see green and red cross the room and then cross the room again.
And as we're walking, I'm leaning into Delphine, looking like I'm scolding her, but I'm actually like, okay, so now we know that the left are personal quarters. So if Lady Hepzibah said the necklace was on display, so it's probably going to be in rooms available to the party. Otherwise, why would it be on display? So we'll check there first.
Okay, so yeah, the guards do let you pass. There are guards on the other side of the door as well.
So just
And it's a fairly narrow corridor. Obviously, because most of the wall on one side is adjoining the actual party. All the doors are on the opposite side. There's, given the size of that ballroom, there's like 4 of them, and one is in that direction. 3 are in that direction.
any of them are open.
Nope.
Okay. As we pass by the guards that are on the opposite side of the door, I will turn. Uh, we need a moment. Are any of these doors, or any of these rooms, okay to step out, to step in, to take a moment?
It points behind powder room.
Thank you. And go in that general direction.
Well, it's the one door to the other
Okay.
side. They've handled this reasonably well, in that if you're heading in the other direction, they're going to be able to keep an eye on you. It gives them only one place they really need to look.
Right. But yeah, no, I want to go. I do want to actually go ahead and take a moment anyway, legitimately. But yeah, so we'll go in that direction first to see and go in, see if there's anybody in there, and if not, then just we'll pause in there for a moment.
In point of fact, and this is one of the really, really fancy ones where you've got a sort of a foyer, and with this is the kind of place that would have something resembling plumbing, decent plumbing. So you've got a fairly cushy, uh, you know, foyer with sinks and proper fluffy towels and all the rest of it. And each individual room is the size of the average, powder room where a lady can deal with wardrobe malfunctions and
Mm-hmm.
put her face back on without having to have anyone watching her do it. And 2 of you make me a perception check.
Nat 20.
5.
You've only seen what comes out of these. You never imagined that waste disposal could get so fancy. Viola, from the little room on the far end, is hearing somewhat stern governess-ish tones, and concerned, slightly frightened, but mostly grumpy little girl. And she's just about audible in, "It itches." There's certain stern placation of, probably of the "you won't have to wear it for very long" variety. And given that you guys have not exactly been stealthy, you do get a certain. If you could give us a moment, please.
As lightly as possible in terms of tone. Do you require any assistance?
everything is coming out just fine if you like that sort of uncouth joke. Now, please give us a moment.
And I will step over to Delphine. The character. I can't remember what her name was.
Lupita.
No. The daughter.
Mina.
Mina. Okay. And I'll go up to Delphine, take a look at the makeup just to make sure that the snack didn't mess anything up.
It apparently Sophie, whatever the hell Sophie's using, it lasts.
And making note of that. Wow.
This one is immune to whammies.
Backhanded that hard, not even a smudge. Wow. Okay. Right. And I'll lean into Delphine. Mina's here. And step back out into the hall. Step back out, take a deep breath, sort of, look like, okay. And then, right.
Is Delphine going with?
Deliberating, going with.
Okay. How do we? Right.
Is this an opening?
No. We need to do what we need to do first, and then so. Right. Let's go. Let's step out and go from here. Right. Okay.
Back into the party or just in the hallway?
Hallway for
Hallway,
me, because
yeah.
I'm
right. Let's. You've never been in a home quite like this. Let's. I can at least show you what is. And glancing at the guards, what is available to see.
Perhaps wait until this wing of the house beyond the powder room is a bit more open to guests.
Ah, fair enough. I was about to ask if it was. Thank you. Okay, then back into the party, and I will try to surreptitiously, as possible, find Jerrica.
What's Jerrica been doing while this is going on?
Jerrica's tried to kind of find a place to stand on, like, amidst the crowd that's presumably watching the dance floor. She's keeping an eye on De Montfort.
Yeah, he's danced with a few other people. Jerrica
Also,
is... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
How complex is the dance?
It depends, really. Some are pretty fancy waltzes, minuets, that kind of thing, and some are simpler. It shouldn't be a problem, maybe, if she watches for a little while longer. She is getting some attention, generally from slightly older gentlemen. Not hugely older, but like gentlemen who probably, either they're looking at wife number 2 because they've already had the heir and the spare, and now they're just marrying for So, I mean, yeah, basically what you're wearing is not widow's weeds, because there's stages of mourning in this time. There's deep mourning, which is you're basically head to toe black and hiding everything, because you're not supposed to be looked at because your heart is in the grave with your husband. And then there's regular mourning, which in a woman your age would be, this is advertising that I am no longer wed, and after the appropriate time has passed, will be looking to fetch me a husband. So it's allowed to be more flattering.
Yeah, she's definitely not gonna meet any of those looks.
there is some disappointment about that. But yes, these two come out and are actually, yeah. Jerrica, make me an insight check with advantage because you are catching a whole lot of the meaning of looks at the moment. So yeah, they need to talk to you about something, probably like right now, and it probably wouldn't be best done in here because this is where most of the people are. But there is that lovely patio where it's not overly well lit. And you've seen a couple of women go out, in pack giggling and come back still giggling. So that's where you go to gossip.
Okay. Jerrica meets Viola's look and then somewhat slowly goes towards the patio.
Quickly realizing where she's heading, I will follow, dragging or escorting, as the case may be, Delphine, depending on how aware she is.
Well, probably a little of both because she's looking like she's still a little bit peeved with Lupita. And how is Delphine handling this?
Just going to continue looking a combination of baffled and wanting to stay and look around a bit, but allowing the hauling off to happen.
Well, I mean, you probably get to Viola, who knows the situation. You need to come and see the gardens anyway. This is where all the little things get discussed in a less formal atmosphere, and that's half the fun of these things. Just going out for a
Yep.
little breath of fresh air, and to be fair, most ladies don't smoke, but because men consider it uncouth, but the ones that do will tend to sort of sneak out onto the patio, and it's like being a woman in this time is like being a teenager. You sneak out for a quick smoke, a quick gossip, maybe a quick snog behind the hawthorn bush. But you can't do anything more than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys head out for the usual, and nobody looks twice because like 3 different groups of women have gone out like that in the past like 20 minutes. So
Is there a garden outside?
yeah, I mean basically what you have is a patio, and below that, there because it's dark, you don't see very much of it. There are some lights, but unless you're a very keen horticulturalist, you don't know half what's growing in there.
Like, how big is the garden area, and how big are there hedges and other things that you could hide behind?
Well, I mean, I think I know what you're asking. There are a few quasi-hidden conversational nooks. It's not enough to be completely unseen, unless you're you, but it's enough to have a fair bit of privacy in some semblance of comfort. So you don't feel the guards watching to see that you're not getting up to shenanigans. But it's enough to hide fine reactions. So unless you're flailing and screaming, you don't have to worry too much about guarding your reactions to things or dealing with your accent.
Okay. So she'll linger on the patio and observe the garden.
Yeah, well,
and wait for the two of them.
they were pretty much straight behind you because you were sort of more middle, and that door was towards the end of the ballroom. So
Yeah, we pretty much met at the door at about the same time, and when we do, just sort of nod like, yes, we definitely need to talk. Not saying anything, just that's the nod. That's like, yeah, go. And then once we step outside and get a distance, and basically distance enough from the house, I'll lean.
There's a nice little sort of circular bench arrangement that can let you guys be not 100% facing the door, you've still got some ambient light. But again, it's far enough away that your accents won't get twigged, and unless you're really loud about it, physically and verbally, it's not going to be a problem.
Cool. So yeah, I'll lean in. We and explain. We stepped out. We stepped to the left. That was apparently where personal quarters are. We went to the right. We went out. Corridor. 3 doors to the left. 1 door to the right. The 1 door to the right. It's the powder room, and in that powder room was Mina and a governess of some sort. They were in one of the sub rooms.
Jerrica jerks to look at her much more attentively and drops her champagne glass.
It's grass, you hear thump.
It's okay.
question is, do we take the opening?
It's not an opening, but we verified that yes, she is here. Yes, she's okay. I heard her complaining about. Oh, I'm guessing the outfit is itchy, so she's apparently not in distress other than the wardrobe, which is a good sign.
Yes,
So,
yes, it is. So we
So-
have time.
To be fair, just to make sure you actually remember, it was a lot of that angry and put out was masking a little bit of fear.
she sounded. Okay,
She basically sounded like Jerrica in that I'm afraid of the thing, but I'm going to be angry at it instead.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, let me rephrase. She's definitely your daughter. She sounded like you. She's scared, but she's going to be angry rather than afraid. And she was saying it itched. It's either makeup or wardrobe. I'm assuming wardrobe, but either way, that's what I heard. If that's her biggest concern right now, I take that as a okay sign. The fear is a little, but I mean, she's in an unfamiliar scene. She's just yanked out of a warehouse. It all makes sense. Point being, she's as okay as I can tell right now. She's here. We don't have an opening yet, but we will. Let's do what we have to do aside from getting her out first, and then get her. Because if nothing else,
Thank
we can
you.
Yeah.
Viola.
Yeah, we can use specifically what you have to do, depending on how loud you are.
I'm
about
going to
doing it.
get that blowhard to follow me into some room, and that'll be the end of that.
It won't be too hard.
Exactly.
That was won't be too hard.
And to be fair, Viola also knows that at least one of those rooms along the side is probably actually set aside for just that kind of thing.
As a matter of fact, one of those 3 rooms on the side, is probably set aside for precisely that. Well, not necessarily stabbing in the literal sense that you mean, but more metaphorically.
Yes,
It's
Viola.
basically the two options are if you just want it to be for the smooches, then the garden's fine, particularly for Jerrica and her skill set. But that depends on what Milord is up for. So that's up to her at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But but the thing is, Jerrica might not know about the garden smooching.
2 things. You could probably talk him, depending on what Lord de Montfort is up for. You may be able to talk him into the garden for a little bit of smooching. More than that, then that's what you'd use one of the side rooms for. So
It'd be harder to hide the body in the garden, but if I can get into the room.
No, it wouldn't.
I mean, to be fair, the other thing that you probably wouldn't see because it's only the interior of the garden that's really lit. The exterior of the garden is a fairly high, fairly thick hedge separating this big garden from everybody else's big garden.
well, you might not be able to make it out from here, but there's there's usually very large hedges
Well, no,
separating it.
there is hedge. There is hedge
Oh.
like 20
You
feet
can
from you.
see
You
it.
Oh,
just can't see
yeah,
it
look,
because it's
I
dark.
just
Big garden means city big garden, like the back of
Okay.
a New York townhouse.
yeah. So I'll just point. I'll just be like,
And
no, it's not.
to be
Point.
fair, Jerrica, now that she's looking, because she can see in the dark, is yeah, I could stuff a body under that hedge.
All right.
Yeah.
Jerrica
Remember, if you do
nods.
need disposal, then I'm going to waggle the hand I have the mark on.
You two focus on that trinket.
I'm aware, but we're here to help each other.
I know. I just mean
Don't
that
forget you have us here.
Fluffy telepathically going, well, you know, if all you needed to do was swarm something to turn him into food, I could, I could be banished to the garden. Because I am messy, and I could be turned into something that could keep an eye on the garden and Miss Jerrica, and then tell you that things need to be summoned, and you can get close enough without summoning in the space and not being in the garden and not being suspicious. And
I'll just-
Fluffy has a
basically just got
decent plan.
Delphine. You've got Delphine nodding.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Delphine, realizing you're talking to Fluffy. Okay, Fluffy's
Fluffy,
wise. What's going on?
Fluffy has an attached plan. If you get him out here, I can have Fluffy waiting for for you to proceed to end him
I am
and break
too
out
messy.
disposal.
I am too messy for polite company.
That was in parrot.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes, that is brilliant. That is brilliant. Fluffy is wise. Fluffy is very wise. I like
All
Fluffy.
right. All right, that'll do.
Right. So, what are you going to turn Fluffy into?
Gonna have to be owl. I need to be able to see.
Small and angry or large?
Common here is small and angry.
Sorry about this then.
Mm.
And as the conversation continues, I'm going to go through the casting.
Well, I'm one of the advantages I'm giving you with Fluffy, besides Fluffy being smarter than all three of you, is that that doesn't take as long as it generally does with a familiar. Not to mention not having the components. Mostly because I don't feel like fucking with that shit anyway. No, it doesn't.
And
really
these act as,
it doesn't really fit with the theme anyway.
and these act as foci, so they replace components anyway.
So yeah, all of a sudden small, angrier looking than even usual Scops.
I will murder you face.
It's you've never heard whoop sound more like fuck you.
Viola just looks well now a bit more down at Fluffy. Thank you. Dreadfully sorry. I know how much you prefer to be able to speak. Thank you.
And then telepathically to Delphine, when I am a raven again, I want organs in tribute. Get me steak and kidney pie fixings.
Happily. This out loud.
And then finds a subtle little perch in the garden.
Right.
I need to find this bastard before it gets any later.
Yeah. Jerrica or Anastasia. We were going to try to get a look in the other rooms, but the guards are being guards. Any suggestions?
Well, I have a suggestion. That's me going in through a window.
No. Not in that
I
outfit.
can climb, unlike some people.
Not in that outfit. You're not going to ruin Sophie's hard work.
This
She
doesn't.
could do it in
I've
that
been moving
outfit. She
so
just
well
wouldn't
in
be
this.
able. She
I
could
don't
do it
think
in the
this is
outfit. She
ruinable by
wouldn't.
that.
You wouldn't be able to come back to the party afterwards.
I don't think this outfit's ruinable by a little hard work.
You're gonna have to find something to distract the guards. Looks to Fluffy.
No,
I'm waiting here, is telepathically to Delphine.
Fluffy's
Did she
waiting.
forget the plan again?
Oh, yeah,
Jerrica,
Fluffy's waiting here.
plan.
I'm aware, but you
Anyway.
need to get that
No.
necklace.
I have other distractions.
All right then.
So do I.
And to be fair, Viola's probably involved very much less in the way of blood fly infestations.
Right.
Or less stabbing, because that's the other distraction Delphine's very much thinking of.
No. I know that look. No, not yet.
So yeah, because you can see the same look that was that passed over her face when
Anna,
watching
you're watching Anna. Yeah.
her
I'm like, no.
retreat. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to put something in your spine, and it's not going to be a massage.
That's more on than anyway. Look,
Very deep
why,
shiatsu.
why don't you guys take
We'll
the
take-
next 5 minutes to actually have a think about what you're going to be doing, and maybe Smeagol and Ethan can discuss amongst themselves what they're doing, because apart from Fluffy being lookout for body disposal, Jerrica's on her own, and we'll see you in 5 minutes when we actually try to put some plan into effect. And we're back, still in the last-minute planning stages as we try to figure out, what the hell is, what the hell we're going to do and how the hell it's going to work. They're still seated in the garden. Jerrica is aware that Mina's here and is a little bit stressed about the whole thing, but does also acknowledge that they have jobs to do before they can get Mina the hell out.
So, I've been giving it some thought. We need to have reasonable free reign to look around. The only people that are going to have reasonable free reign to look around are the Gallanforts. I can make myself look like one of them and be showing Lupita around, specifically showing the piece off. The only problem being, obviously, they can't be in more than one place at a time. So that's where you come in, Jerrica.
Wait, me?
You're the only one left.
You're
Also-
a distraction.
Yes. Of the particular Gallanfort that,
All right.
Basically, just
Well-
keep them away from our corridor.
and getting in, at least appearing to get in good with the Gallanfort, even if you don't manage it, which I hope you do. I think you can.
It's whether she wants to is the thing. Even
Well,
Mm,
que sera. That will pique the interest of Gallanfort, or not Gallanfort,
De Montfort.
De Montfort. Thank you. So that will. So that may help your cause a little bit.
all right. I'll chat him up, but just
I'll-
move quickly.
Yes, we'll move as quickly as possible.
We need
Well,
to
given
pick
given that this guy's self is easier done with someone who's a little as close to you as possible, there is one. She's younger than you. I mean, she's only barely out of her teens, and this is like 3 parties off her debut. Evangeline Gallanfort. You've seen her around the party a little bit. She's been mostly, been being introduced to people and having people present themselves to her, and Viola at the very least knows that she's probably not all that keen on being introduced to, but she has to make appearances and that kind of thing.
And she would definitely be probably the type to be a bit enamored of the foreign visitor and eager to show off a little
More to the point, eager to get the hell out of the big
Out
room with
as
all
well.
the people.
as well. So Evangeline, she's still young. and pointedly doesn't want to be here, but you can
you can describe her as honey blonde hair, powder pink dress.
well, assuming that we're not terribly visible, I could potentially just do a silent image of her.
Yeah.
There she is. And you could probably talk her into conversation out of the ballroom. If nothing else, just, you really look like you don't want to be here. Would you like to just step out and just talk?
Distract her with the proposition of
Viola.
wandering off.
If you've seen Jerrica pull out a cigarette once or twice, offer her a smoke.
Yes, offer her a smoke. And
All right.
perfect. Right.
Let's get
So
moving.
you get her out here, and then we'll do our
We'll
magic.
leave after a bit as a different assortment. So
Okay.
that deployment's on you. Good luck,
Where?
Jerrica.
Oh, when am I? When do I do the?
When she comes in and we get ready to go back, when she comes out here and we get ready to go back in as the replacement. So we come, she
Point. Good.
you disguised as her and myself come off the balcony
Yes. Okay.
a little bit after they go in
Ah,
to the balcony.
good. Yes. Good. Good. That works.
Yeah, just wait for Jericho to go get her, and then we can time that a little bit better once she's actually out here.
Yes.
As I
Perfect.
said, good luck out there, in there, wherever.
Jerrica nods distractedly, and she's starting to move.
Okay. And back
Right.
in-
Mission Improbable about to begin.
You spotting Evangeline Gallanfort is not overly hard. Lord Gallanfort has just finished what looks like a little bit of a lecture of the could you at least try to look like you're enjoying yourself. But she's sitting at one of the tables that's not for cards exactly, nursing a glass of champagne she's barely touched and watching the people and having that please don't ask me to dance look.
Right. Jerrica kind of comes up from behind and sidles up beside her and looks down. These people, honestly.
I'm not supposed to say anything like that, but you don't know the half of it.
I thought I did, and yet I still managed to underestimate them.
You still do trust me. That, by the way, is she's got no deception whatsoever. This is just somebody who knows a little bit too much about what's happening later in the evening.
Jerrica fishes out a cigarette and kind of keeps her hand at her waist and kind of looks to her and kind of, do you want some air, dearie?
That would be nice, thank you. But I should probably introduce myself properly. Evangeline Gallanfort, lady, supposedly.
Anastasia Payne, a pleasure.
Oh yes, I saw your entrance. You're slightly friendly with the interesting lady from Karnaka.
Cecilia's an old friend, and she meets such interesting people.
With very interesting pets. Anyway, yes, air. And steps out with Jerrica, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. Jerrica fishes out a couple cigarettes and
Yeah, she smokes like she's been doing it a while.
Oh my!
Damn chimney.
It's more the I'm not allowed to do this anywhere remotely often enough. I'm going to enjoy this kind of thing.
Nice.
Jerrica
Holds
looks
it
at
like
it
she
very
said it before.
Jerrica lets out a relieved breath of her own when she lights up.
I have a question for you because you seem to be as much on the sidelines as I am. What do you think my odds are of like leaving and just never coming back?
Well, I suppose that depends on how much gold you can fit into your purse.
Oh, there is a few things I can grab on the way out. It's more whether anybody's going to be looking for me. I just don't. This is not. How long were you planning on staying at this party?
Never you mind that, dear.
She starts actually looking a little bit frightened at that point.
Mm.
That was not subtle.
It's more okay. Jerrica, give me an insight check, because I mean she has no game, but you're missing something at this point.
Oh,
Ooh,
doing good on the insides.
Oh, thank
yes,
God.
you did very well. Well enough to know
Thank
that
God.
when you said that, she thinks she just outed herself to a cultist. She basically thinks that she outed herself as very much non-sympathizer to a cultist. And it's like, if you're going to do horrible things to me, can I at least please finish my cigarette first?
Jerrica cringes. Takes a cigarette out. Stops speaking like an attempting noble. Look, kid. I'm not from here, but not in the sense of the dress.
What? Sorry, because even out of character, I didn't quite understand what she was trying.
She's trying to imply that she's not, a hobnobbing noble / potential cultist.
Well, hobnobbing noble and potential cultist can go side by side, but they don't necessarily have to. Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive, and they're not immediately conjoined either.
Mm.
So why are
This
you
is when
here? Are you here to be all? Wait a minute.
The little girl is my daughter.
Yeah, I was just about to say there's a definite oh dear. Oh dear. Yeah, and you're gonna get her out before things happen.
Yes.
Okay.
Look, alright, look. If you want to leave, you're going to need clothing that doesn't look like that.
Yes, I know. That's handled. That's not what I was going to say, actually. What I was going to say is that by your accent, you'd know, places where, somebody could hop a ship to elsewhere. If you can promise you'll tell me where those are and how to say the right things to at least get a certain distance, I can help you.
Jerrica gives the address to the bar and says, then, do you have an idea of how to get to that district?
I'm I can probably find it as long as I do my usual hiding out routine. I don't think I'll get bothered even if I am just looking for it.
The next question was going to be, do you have a way of getting a knife for yourself? It's an unfortunate neighborhood.
Uh, it reaches into her décolletage and shink.
I like her.
Tell the barman you're a friend of Jerrica Redder. And then just wait there, and then I will help you get passage to wherever in the Empire you want to go.
Meantime, though, you probably are going to need some help. Do you know what's happening here?
I know the most important parts.
They're going to open a door.
Jerrica looks like she definitely didn't know that bit.
They're going to open a door and they're going to lock that little girl in there bodily. They say that's how you make an outsider. That's kind of when I started not... Wait a minute, Redder. Oh, then you're the... Oh. Well, that's going to put the fear of something into them. Maybe.
That's the idea.
But yeah, they I suppose on one level it's, well, no, none of this is lucky, but if they'd known then what they figured out after, this would have been you.
They don't know a damn thing. All that matters is getting Mina out.
Okay, but again, how can I help?
Okay. I need a way to get to her. The hard part is getting to her, and then getting out of the manor. Obviously. Is there a servant's passage?
There are a lot of servants' passages, but in the middle of the main part of the party is not going to be a great time. Unfortunately, what's gonna have to happen is everybody's going to be at their less defended in the middle of the ritual because they're going to be too busy focusing on that to make sure nothing goes wrong, to worry too much about it. So, particularly if somebody who's supposed to be in the ritual circle, that's kind of why I wanted to get out before this party ended, because Papa insists that I be a part of this and I don't want to. But if I can be there to disrupt it, you can grab her while they're trying to figure out why it's not working, maybe?
How many people are going to be in that room?
Well, not so much the guards. The ones on the doors are mostly just hirelings. They don't really know what's going on. They're paid well enough to be blind, deaf, and mute to most of what's going on. It's most of the wait staff that's the problem. But even they've got their own issues. I don't know how, but one of them got a sense that at least one of them was not on board with things. So amongst themselves, there's gonna be at least one householder body if they're not quick or really, really careful or really, really good. I don't know how any of this works, really. I just watch. But anyway, they're gonna be there, and all of them are armed. They're loyal servants to the house. But beyond there, there's going to be a good half dozen of the major nobility, and as sort of, I don't know, leaders of this whole thing, I'm not entirely sure why, but there's a ship captain? Your ship captain, right? I guess that makes sense. And Of course, the gentleman who gave him all the information that he has, Lord de Montfort.
And they would notice if de Montfort doesn't arrive to that ritual, wouldn't they?
Not if somebody who looks an awful lot like him turned up. I do pay attention. Your exotic friend and Lady Caldwell, I'm assuming. I mean, I wouldn't have known if I hadn't heard the stories, but I sneak out. I go to taverns. I don't do this if I can avoid it.
We're going to have a few interesting talks after all this, but what I think is, if I met your father, I think I could get into the ritual room as an invitation, and she pulls off her glove, enough to show the mark.
You didn't have to do that. Like I say, I've heard the stories when there's swarms of rats and swarms of blood flies and sorts of things. I'm sorry, but you guys already have something of a reputation in the underworld.
Oh, I've heard plenty of the stories too, but another thing to
No, the one
see
specifically
them.
about you.
So I express an interest and an offer of loyalty to your father. Is that something he'll take interest in?
How far away are we? Could we hear this?
Give me a perception check, you two. Because, well, to be fair, you guys were going in almost as soon as they
We
went
were
out,
yeah,
so you
we were going to
probably
give it a few minutes to make the timing proper to not, like went in and immediately came back out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because more than a couple of seconds, basically. 'Cause that would be suspicious as hell.
Yeah, no, and you're muted anyway.
7 and no, because I'm too busy probably prepping to do the thing.
Mostly
21.
because you guys were trying to stay out of immediate sight and away so that you weren't it wasn't going to be you weren't going to be heard or seen going past as her. You do get the sense that the conversation is going weirdly well. Which but what Evangeline responds to that is you resemble Miss Mina. You look like yourself, which is more than I can say, I think, for the other two. If you presented yourself to him close up, voluntarily, he would make sure that you were packed into a little room, and then he would use you as the bloodletting required for this ritual. Unless you want your
Fair
daughter
enough.
seeing you bleed out.
Nope. I understand. I understand.
Can I get up? Tell Viola, wait, don't react, please, and approach the conversation.
Jerrica looks at the sound of a Delphine approaching.
Ah,
Evangeline, this is a...
the rat mistress.
Yes, that is one way
And
to
I'm going to sketch a
describe
little
her.
bow.
I'm just watching with like a look on my face of, what the fuck are you doing? This is so not according to plan.
So, since you recognize me, are you on board, as it were?
Pretty much, I've been asking how I could help. I I think there might be. It sounds like, if unless I miss my guess, uh, you have business with Lord de Montfort that's going to prevent him from being at that ritual tonight.
She does.
And you pulled me out of this reception, and it clearly wasn't to kill me. So you had to have another reason to get me out of the way. What was it that someone who looked like me was supposed to do?
Steal the
We're
necklace.
looking for a necklace, heart-shaped
Oh,
gem.
that thing. Um, you want it?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you
I'm still staring, just like
so you could get
You're
it
still
out.
not quite hearing if it.
no, no,
Viola,
but
is Viola in view?
Yes, just about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerrica just
So you can get it out for us.
Yeah.
I'll get up and walk
I
walk
mean,
over.
it technically it's mine.
Viola, this
Oh.
is Evangeline. She's a very bright young woman who's going to help us, and then we're going to help her.
Uh,
Can you look like Lord de Montfort? You don't have to demonstrate. I know.
um.
There are already stories about you.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, let's see. Judging from his height, weight. Yes, I should be able to.
Good, then she
Getting
can.
Viola,
Good, then she can still kill him.
getting Viola into the ritual room will be the easy part. It's myself, unless I can get in there before it starts. I can hide myself.
My wisdom is 14, so yeah, I probably could
do
join you
that,
together.
Yeah, that would be better than.
Because Lord de Montfort could get away with inviting in a largely unknown quantity. The only reason I know what you all three of you look like is because I may listen to the occasional bit of rough tavern ballads. And before you ask, reaches into her décolletage. Punk. Fairly sizable knife.
How do I get into the room?
Oh, you are just a treat.
Okay, you're going to need to get. I mean, you can come out to the balcony fine. Do you need to be able to see where you're going?
Yes.
Okay, hand me another one of those and come with me.
Jerrica goes with her with another cigarette.
And she leads around to the more personal quarters side of the house and points to a half-hidden basement window. If you sneak out for another smoke before you head into the carriage, because nobody likes to smoke in a carriage, I don't know how well you can see in the dark, and you can. There's some ritual shit and things that look like worse bone charms than even the one that Delphine bought, and altar with unfortunate sort of pockets in the corner that look like they collect blood, and some weird mirror looking thing, and there's something set up in there.
All right. Once I've dealt with de Montfort, I'll make my way down there and.
No, you're gonna have to let yourself be seen leaving the party.
Oh, I see. I see.
If you can, I mean, come with me. And further
Goes.
on down, she shows a little gate that clearly opens in from the front. If you can be stealthy and pick a lock,
Mhm.
you can get through this door, look in from there, and when the time is right, you can go down.
All right.
I don't know. I mean, I suppose Lord de Montfort could take a young lady if she seemed amenable, because Karnakans have a reputation for whole different types of things, and who knows, the young lady might have ideas, or if not, it's always good for cult ideas to spread. Why do you think I
So
want
I'm.
out?
Of course.
Would you have we have come back to that to our little?
Yeah, she only
So
briefly.
that makes me the bait instead. I can do that.
Yeah, if you bait him out, then you can hide and stab him, whatever. And then she comes out looking like Lord de Montfort, and nobody knows anything.
All right then. Delphine, lure him to the
You are an
gardens.
absolute. I'm going to put a hand on. Sorry,
Evangeline.
brain.
Vigilanting.
On
Evangeline.
Evangeline. You are an absolute delight.
Um, does Lord de Montfort have any behavioral quirks? Anything that might help the, well, illusion, as it were?
He's a quiet man, but most of what he does is in his face.
Hmm.
He's a man of few words. A little condescending. Okay, a lot condescending. I believe that. Yeah. Um, but he wears his heart not so much on his sleeve but on his face. So when he's being smug, when he's being condescending, he sulks when he's not getting exactly what he wants.
I can do that. That is actually much preferred, as a matter of fact. It's easier when they don't talk.
And he probably won't say very much at this point anyway. It'll be the ship captain doing most of the talking. He's mostly the idea man and the money.
Perfect.
Well, some of the
Understood.
money.
Hmm.
Has some of the other money, but not as much of the money as he thinks anymore. I'm getting out of here.
All
We
right,
will,
so
we will get you out
Delphine.
of here.
So Delphine will chat up to Montfort, lead him. She points to a darkened and shadowy hedge at the far edge of the garden,
And
and
I'll.
then I'll give the impression of departing for the evening.
It would make sense actually. The new faces are unlikely to be sticking around unless they've been invited by somebody high up in the hierarchy to be staying at this point. You looked a little bit concerned when I mentioned about the weight stuff that we're under suspicion. Do you want me to do anything about that?
We should pass a message to your friend to
Yes.
get out.
To,
And
Not so much my
oh,
friend. I don't really know them, but I can identify them.
my friend.
Oh,
yeah.
can you give me a description?
Uh, quickly glancing to make sure nobody can really see, turning so that my back's to whomever and showing a picture of Emmy.
Oh, that's neat. Oh,
What was Emmy's friend's name? The man who's very likely
Oh,
dead.
Marcus, if
out of
memory
character. I
serves.
can't recall.
Marcus, if memory serves, but it'll do anyway.
I believe so. Yes. As a matter of fact, I think that is right. Marcus, if I recall correctly.
Oh, no.
Mm,
It's good
then
to know for sure.
yeah,
She'll
and
appreciate that.
she'll want to know that.
She won't not want to know exactly what.
I don't want to know either.
I'll do what I can to get them out. Hang on. Okay, I'm just trying to think about how best to do this, because I'm happy to take risks, but the ones that are definitely going to get me noticed need to be the ones that get you to disrupt well, get me to disrupt that ritual, because you two aren't going to be in that stupid ritual circle, but I am. I wasn't. I was resisting going, but this way I can disrupt it. I can give you time.
We can save a little girl, a very important little girl, and we can save you. I can promise you, we will do everything we can. It's we'll do our best. That's all we can do.
She glances over. You know where your priorities are, though.
Yes.
If it and she looks at Jerrica for a moment and digs around sort of at the back of her bustle and pulls out a very much folded sheet of paper. If anything goes really badly wrong, check these places.
Very well.
Right, I should probably step inside without you first because this is longer than I've spoken to anyone in about 3 months.
You on the road then. Best of luck, all right.
It won't look very funny if I'm looking at the wait staff. I do that, and I at least can get into the private quarters where they're dishing up food. I'm allowed.
Viola was out of earshot for this. So, did we find out where the necklace is?
She was
That
apparently
we don't.
just gonna get it.
She just knows where it is, and she can get it for us.
Oh, oh, oh! You guys already. Dreadfully sorry. I was out of earshot.
I just wished her luck, and
Yeah.
All right, you go introduce yourself to de Montfort, and
I'll see me
You
back
know.
shortly.
Yeah. Well, we'll walk over, and I will introduce my visitor to Lord de Montfort. And so, yeah, we'll.
Yeah.
I will.
And it would make sense for you to follow along after them if they've been a little while because there is reputation.
So I will again be the now calmed, gracious escort once again. Now that the parrot has been relegated to the
Garden.
garden, if and we will go on in, and I will we'll look for de Montfort and make our way over.
De Montfort is at a loose end at the moment. He does, however, look a bit grumpy and like he could use something to take his mind off the fact that he's lost another couple of hands of poker.
Oof.
Given what Evangeline just told you, you can now understand why he loses so badly.
Jerrica goes
Facial journeys.
Jerrica goes to wait in that
The man does not have a poker
shadowy
face.
hedge.
Yeah. So I will. So we Lord de Montfort, my companion, my visitor here, Lupita Hunter from Karnaka, wished to introduce yourself to your gracious company.
Pleasure.
And it may be impolite, but you look like you could use some distraction, some conversation. So, Lupita?
Perhaps. And gives her a nod of you've made introductions. I see where you're going with this. Go away.
Exactly. So just Lupita and motions, and then just sort of bow, the backslide bow type of thing, and making an appropriate distance, keeping them relatively in eyesight as a like, this is my visitor, so I should have at least some knowledge of where she's at, but I'm not really paying
Particularly
all that
after
much
the
attention.
parrot intro.
Yes.
Parrot debacle goes.
So what
just
Sorry, what?
Just to reiterate, this is the guy responsible for the whole whaling group.
Well, he was clearly the money behind. He was the money behind all the behind Jerrica's ship, and according to Evangeline, he was some of the information fed to the captain that basically had the crew going cultist and chucking Jerrica overboard. So, what brings you to Dunwall?
More interesting things to bring home for parties and interest in some of the more local intrigues, flavors, and delights.
Define intrigues, flavors, and delights.
Well, individuals who look quite as nice as you. And anything that would bring a good deal of extra fortune. So I'm looking to up a bit in Karnataka.
I see. Would you dance, Lady Hunter?
Sure.
Okay, you've had your eye a little bit on things, but I mean, to be fair, your stats all the way across the board are pretty insane. So, make me a performance check, and if it well, yeah, if it gives you the option, go Dex. And I think it's more or less the same either way, but
Yeah, because it's either acrobatics, dex, or performance charisma.
yeah, but sometimes you can replace
Yeah.
performance with Dex, but just do a straight performance check, you'll be fine.
17.
Yeah, you I mean, you're you're dancing like someone who only knows the dances of Dunwall secondhand, which is fair. He is not one of those people who carries on conversation while dancing, which makes him a bit of an anomaly. So that does give you a little bit more focus time to follow his lead. He's a much better dancer than he is a card player, I'll tell you that much.
Facial journeys lead to garbage cards, but probably solid dance shenanigans.
Well, when you can read his face, you can basically read body language as well, so that gives you a pretty good indication of what he's about to do, so you can follow on better. So yes, um, and after that, he grabs a couple of glasses of champagne from a passing waiter and says, "There are some less socially acceptable delights, shall we say. If you would care to repair to the garden, I can show you. To be fair,
Okay.
this even Delphine knows, although Jerrica I think is the only one who doesn't, is noble speak for I have a nug, wanna smoke up?
Absolutely.
And offers his arm.
And I'm going to take the arm and go all along.
Okay, and off they go. Are you gonna let him roll you up or what? Jerrica basically sees Delphine come out with Lord de Montfort. He settles on a bench, and to be fair, she knows exactly what that looks like. She just doesn't know the noble term for it.
I haven't heard it called a nug in forever. Oh my god!
It's regaining vogue. We seem to have gone very retro in a lot of our speech, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just going to let him keep going like he thinks he's got this in control right up until
yeah.
fun begins. Or an
Jerrica,
indication from Jerrica that she's moving into position.
Jerrica's not gonna give any indication. She just starts creeping up.
Stealth check.
Oh my god.
Oh!
I think you're crackling. It's like, I think may have to move to a different part of the garden for this.
Jerrica freezes in place, which
Makes her
theoretically.
invisible. Yes, and since she's not making any more noise, it's sort of. And. Yep, and Fluffy bursts out of a bush and flaps to a nearby one, hooting that "Fuck you!" hoot.
This is that very displeased Hoot.
I'm going to come out here with my hunting rifle. Not right now, apparently, but is goes back to rolling. You know, it might be easier for Jerrica if Delphine actually tried to carry on a conversation.
So, you mentioned this is less than legal, but you also seemed interested in the fortune.
I have diverse financial interests. Was there anything in particular you were interested in pursuing? And hands her what he has
Good
rolled.
good investments, pretty tricks, pretty favors.
Well, for party favors, there's that, and you'd have to try that for yourself to see whether the effects are enjoyable. But I would, at this particular stage, I would sink some significant money into the whaling industry if you want some extra coin to party with. Something tells me it's going to boom.
And I've heard tale that here, some people have a way to ensure fortune favors them.
That very much depends on who you speak to, Lady Hunter. What is Jerrica doing at this point? He's talking now as much as he ever does.
Would it make a sound to cast True Strike on herself?
Double check thing. No, True Strike is somatic, so no.
She casts.
To put it to you like this to explain how spells and their detection might work, because I know you're only just getting into some pretty significant spell stuff. Somatic, you'd have to do if someone was watching you, you'd have to do a sleight of hand check to make sure no one actually saw you doing it. Verbal, you'd have to do a stealth check to make sure that you were speaking at a low enough volume. Material, you'd have to do both.
Okay.
So usually a lot of spells it would be like both, but since you're in shadow, you are moving, but you're behind him, so you're not in his line of sight anymore, so that's okay. And True Strike is not a very... I mean, to be fair, it's mostly just for activating the mark in this case anyway, so it shouldn't call too much attention. And, so I'm not going to make you roll a further stealth check, and it probably won't break invisibility because the spell is on you, not on him.
Okay, so she does that, and then she creeps up into stabbing range.
Another stealth check. Thank God.
She has a
That was a
blade in
3.
her hand now.
That was a 3. He's far too busy eyeing Delphine and going, okay, is she interested in this culty shit, or is she just trying to catch me in something socially unacceptable?
And she goes for the side of the neck opposite of Delphine.
Okay, make me an attack roll and pray you don't do as badly as you have the last couple.
So I'm glad I remembered that spell.
Okay, roll damage just for shits and giggles at this point, because this is an unarmored individual, and yeah, I mean, it's more of he's bleeding out at this point.
And gurgling.
Grabs his mouth.
To be fair, if you cut deep enough, he's not making any noise. It's gurgling noises. It's lots and lots of gurgling noises, but you might want to move him so that he's not bleeding on a bench.
I'm just going to shove him off the bench.
So now he's bleeding into the grass and making
And
some choking
I'm going to
noises.
knock him. I'm going to sort of nudge him over so I'm staring at him. And another one becomes food. And I'm going to summon the swarms.
Jericho is about to reach for the body, then immediately steps back once rats appear.
I'm gonna say that she was sensible enough to only go for the one swarm because there's no way you could hide 8 swarms of rats.
Yeah,
Even if
yeah. If it, because it, just gonna make a question here. Would giant rats be as effective, or would you prefer I do the single swarm?
Single swarm harder to hide bigger rats.
Got it. Single. Yeah. So yeah, manifest.
It basically your swarm of rats kind of drag him into the nearby hedge wall roots.
Leave a
and
few pieces in that hedge, please.
Squeak. And then there is the quiet sound of chewing.
Squish, squish, crunch.
Oh, fortunately, I'm going to be elsewhere anyways.
And to be fair, you're entirely in black. Hides the bloodstains remarkably well.
Jerrica heads back inside so she can make her public departure.
And seeing
Well, to be fair, Viola's smart enough to just, as she's going past, prestidigitate.
Yep. And but seeing Jerrica come through, I will surreptitiously just sort of slip out, sort of like, I saw my charge go this way. I'm gonna go check.
But yeah, and you can get in a couple of quick. Oh, there's blood on her hands. There's blood on her skirt.
Oh dear.
Well, not. It's hard to see, but you knew it was going to be there, so you had a pretty sharp eye. So it's like, we don't want to smell that. We don't want to smell that.
Yep. And then stepping outside to find Anastasia, or find Lupita rather, as Anastasia's making her way out, I will step away from immediate sight and do the disguise self and turn to Delphine. So
I'm just standing there, just sort of amusedly watching the bushes. There's probably still a few crunch noises.
I'm not looking.
He's fertilizer.
I'd like. Don't make my stomach gurgle. I know there's necessity, but anyway.
Yeah, but to be fair, you know that for Delphine, this is fun.
That's why I'm not making too big a deal out of it. Besides, it was necessary and it served a purpose, and it was one of the things we were here for. So,
shall we?
So, just looking again at Lupita, going with a well,
and I'm going to wrap myself around the arm.
Okay, so I guess I guess it meets with approval. Okay,
and as before we out. So should I hide Fluffy for the moment, or leave Fluffy out to keep a lookout?
Lookout
question.
Fluffy is probably better because if she's trying to make a good impression for the Lord she's having bits of fun with, she probably doesn't want parrot.
Yeah.
I mean, like, bamfed out, because I remember one of the things they can do is poof into
Well, she can contact Fluffy telepathically if he stays in the garden, and
Leave.
Okay,
Yeah, leave. No, we're good.
Fluffy, continue, look out. If anything starts getting guard alerty or problem,
should I say when Whaler Lady is in position?
mm-hmm.
Grumpiest hoot.
Is Fluffy going to be okay?
Fluffy's fine. Just disgruntled. There'll be appropriate payment for the favor.
Yes, there will.
And telepathically, steak and kidney pie fixings are going through your head right now.
Just that on repeat in my head.
Yeah.
Right. And now I shall spend the rest of the evening basically not speaking.
Yeah, can you give me a performance check with your actor feat advantages?
12.
It's not great. You don't really have the body language down quite as well as you could, but that's okay because you also have a Karnakan lady hanging off your arm, so that's going to change things up a bit, and it's enough to get you by, more or less.
Um.
I'm going to giggle when appropriate.
Actually, Lupita, were you still holding? Did he ever get to hand you that?
He did
joint.
hand over, yes.
So okay, in which case, and okay, that, and let me just double check, make sure that it's not a constant, because disguise self is a concentration, I think.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but I don't think prestidigitation is. Good. So every once in a while, to compensate for the slightly off body language, I'll prestidigitate like the scent of a little bit of herb here and there, just like I smoked up a little, so that's why I'm a little off.
That's fair. Okay, so I'm assuming that Anastasia makes her rounds. She's seen enough people leaving to know that she has to kind of do the rounds, give a curtsy to the host, and then head out. Once you get outside, make me a stealth check, please.
Oof.
Yes, but this is good. You're saving the good rolls for when they're really life and death.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because when you have no backup, you don't have anyone to compensate for. So okay, yeah, you get to the side door in such a way that it looks like you've slipped into one of these carriages and are just gone. Okay, can you? I did give you thieves' tools proficiency. I know I did.
Yep. It's there. Oh.
You see, you have cheap crap thieves' tools. Um. Thankfully, what you do have is a Fluffy who, after listening to you very quietly swearing after your lockpick snaps off in the lock, just sort of hoot, hoot, and demonstrates a spot where, with a even halfway decent acrobatics check, you'd be able to climb over the damn thing.
Thank you.
Hoot. Yeah, that you manage better. note to self: that money you won in cards, invest in better lockpicks. In fact, you need new ones anyway because, in fact, that's going to be a problem because a bit of that's actually stuck in the lock.
Oh well.
Hopefully, you'll be able to punt the damn thing open when the time comes, or something. Possibly barrel out through a neighbor's hedge. Something, you'll think of something, but you'll think of something next week because we're at about that time, and you're about in position anyway. So this is actually going to be a point where maps are important anyway. So when next week rolls around, you're all pretty much in position, and we'll see what we can do about rescues, and let's see if we can get this done without anybody dying.
Well, some people are going to die.
Anybody we like.
Someone's already very dead.
They don't count. They're cannon fodder. They're not people.
yeah. I mean,
They're
look
not
at
people.
Delphine.
They're food.
There you go.
Shove.
Okay.
The last thing he saw was her just very, very pleased with this expression.
Yeah. So okay, let's put it another way. Tune in next week when we find out if anybody we like dies.
Same rat time, same rat channel. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Bye.